can't be wrong, so.
Okay, we're about to go live.
Okay.
This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for What in the World with the guy in the corner in the blue shirt. His name is Paul Seaburn. So What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John DiNallo. And if you heard any of that conversation as we were coming live, they were talking sports in Cleveland. Welcome, guys.
Good intro, Karen. Very good.
Very good. Wow, you've been working hard on that.
That's all I do is work for the two of you.
You do. You are just the hardest working woman in show business.
That's right.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
Karen Hale. All right. Well, welcome to What in the World with me, Paul Seaburn, your host. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. Hopefully, you're coming to us every week, either on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting platform, to get the funniest news from the past week. Not the bad news, not the political news, the war, the religion, the politics. No, you come here for the weird and the funny. That's pretty much it. Hopefully we meet that standard, which isn't that high, but we try to meet it anyway. Karen Hale is our producer and co-host and media mogul at NewClevelandRadio.net, our platform. John DiNallo is my old friend. He is the host of What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. He has a longer title than my title, which is not fair.
Well, I don't know about that.
Anyway, so John's got a great sport for us this week. We've got some great, unusual, funny stories. If you're again, thank you for tuning in. If you're tuned in live, if you're listening to us in the future, thank you. It's good to know that we're still around. Go to NewClevelandRadio.net for all the best in podcasts. You'll find out how to download us for free, and also all of the other great podcasts that Karen has. If you like this,
did you say free? Free, FREE.
FREE, that's right. Yeah,
we're free.
That's right. But please, when you do listen to us, especially on YouTube and some of those other platforms, follow us, like us, do all that stuff, so that we know you're there, and then also we get a little bit of revenue from that. So we always appreciate when you do that. Okay, now I lost my train of thought, left the station without me. So I need to get back to what I was talking. Oh yeah, that's right. So if you like weird stories like this and you'd like a little more in-depth coverage, I am also the editor and head writer at Mysterious Universe, one of the leading providers of strange news and paranormal news in the world. So some of the more paranormalish stuff, which we'll be talking about today, by the way, but UFOs and Bigfoot and things like that, go over there as well, and I get into more depth. Let's see, what else? If you like pictures, now if you're listening to us on like Spotify or Apple, I will be showing some pictures today. I'll describe them for you. If you'd like to see them, go to YouTube and find us, and you'll be able to see all the great pictures, and also see what we look like. So anyway, let's get right to it. Let's see. I got to do a time check here. Do a Bigfoot check. Bigfoot is joining us today.
Oh, he sounds in rare form.
He's in rare form. Bigfoot is in rare form today. Bigfoot's excited because I have not one but two Bigfoot stories this week. So excellent. I know John is excited. So it's hard to tell who's more excited, John or Bigfoot. We'll find out. Also, for my lovely wife, Donna, who's, by the way, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday to my wife.
Happy birthday.
Donna. Very good.
I think I mentioned before that she is of a Polish heritage. I've got a great story about a vampire from Poland. So we're going to be talking about that. For guys like John and myself, I've got some fashion tips for when you're eating. A little information on some dogs who hate humans and why they do. This is for you, John, a man with hammer hands. So be ready.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear about that one.
There you go. It's got a sports twist to it. So more.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, more news. We got some trivia. We got some world records. John's got his strange sport. And then at the end, we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. So let's get right to it with our stories for the week. I like to start off with a local story, and this one is hot off the presses from Labor Day weekend. We are in Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast Ohio. All three of us live in suburbs to the southeast, I guess, or southwest. I don't know, the south of Cleveland. So this comes from the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo was shut down, was actually placed into lockdown this weekend for a very strange reason. And I'm going to put up a picture while we talk about that, just to make sure our picture thing is working here. There we go. Okay, so this is inside Cleveland Zoo on Labor Day. And they went into lockdown because a 4-year-old female gray Mexican wolf, which we're looking at right here, escaped from her enclosure and went wandering around where people are. And by people, I mean the people that we're looking at in this photo, who are in one of those silly little carts that all the zoos have, that they ride people around in. So there's people looking, and there's a wolf walking right alongside the cart. Fortunately, the wolf, fortunately for everybody, the wolf was captured safely after about 5 minutes. Nobody was harmed. No visitors, none of the visitors were injured. Unfortunately, one of the minor birds strained their throat, yelling, "You go, girl! You go, girl!" But other than that, everybody survived. And they said that the wolf, they were watching the wolf, and they said that at one point the wolf turned around and started heading back to its enclosure all by itself. And they think it was because they went to the concession stand and found out how bad the tacos were there and decided, no better than Mexico, I'll go back to my enclosure. So anyways, that's pretty exciting in Cleveland, at least. We didn't have much in the way of sports over the weekend. So this is our Cleveland news for the week. I want to mention that, and all three of us, I know, have been to the Cleveland Zoo multiple times. Very nice zoo. If you're visiting Cleveland, it's always a great place to go. Very close to the heart of, really the heart of Cleveland, the old west side of Cleveland. Opened in 1882. Did either of you know that? The zoo is.
I knew it was. I knew it was before the turn of the century, but I couldn't tell you exactly the year, Paul. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
140 years, 130 years. Believe it or not, for our Cleveland listeners who know this, the zoo is in an area called Old Brooklyn, which is south of Cleveland. But that's not the original location. It's been there for a long time. John, you're a museum fan. I don't know if you know this. The original location of the Cleveland Zoo in 1882 was in Wade Park, which is where the Cleveland Museum of Art is now.
Honestly, I did not know that. No, honestly, I did not know that fact.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, didn't know.
Here's another thing I didn't know about that. I didn't know that either. But originally, when they opened the Cleveland Zoo, they had no exotic animals. They specialized in local animals. So I'm
like
thinking,
what?
Squirrels? I don't know.
Birds. They had to have a lot of birds. I would gather, right?
Raccoons, stray dogs, deer. What do you see in Cleveland? And of course, the aquarium had walleye and perch, and the concession stand had walleye and perch. So,
of course.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Today, excuse me, the Cleveland Zoo has one of the world's largest collections of primates. One of my favorite things to look at when I go to the zoo. So, anyways, I thought that was so Cleveland. I don't know if we made the national news on that, but we certainly made the local news with.
Yeah, I saw that story. I saw that story on the local news. Yeah, really. Wow.
How about that? So, news for the week. Okay, let's go on to Karen and John and I are all of a certain age, and I think many of our listeners who've known us for years are also of our age. So this is a story for you. This is about the Monkees, and not these monkeys, but the band called the Monkees. So Mickey Dolenz, in case you don't know, for you kids out there, you don't know who the Monkees are, there they are right there. John, quick, run through those names for us.
Okay, so Peter Tork, Mickey Dolenz, Mike Naismith, and Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, whose real name was David Bowie. No, David Bowie's real name was Davy Jones. That's right.
That's right. That's right, Paul. Good one. Yeah, but there they are. They were so popular in the late 60s, if you remember. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a television show and they were quite the rage. They
Oh
were
yeah, 1966 they came on TV. So Mickey Dolenz, the only surviving member, the guy up in the right-hand corner, is suing the FBI. The FBI has been in the news a lot lately, and they probably don't want to be in the news for this. But he is suing the FBI because he hears that they have a secret dossier, I guess it's pronounced, that on the monkeys, which claimed that during a concert, when they gave concerts, subliminal messages were depicted on a screen behind them, which, in the opinion of the agent whose name was not given, constituted, get ready for this, left-wing innovations of a political nature. From the monkeys, who sang, "Hey, hey, we're the monkeys. People
Yeah.
think we monkey around." What?
subliminal political message, please.
That was the message there.
Oh my
We
gosh.
monkey around.
Unbelievable.
Oh my.
So-
Okay.
So yeah, so this is becoming a big scandal. There's already a rumor that the FBI broke into their home looking for whatever they stole. Bananas, guitars. you know.
Oh wow.
I will say this: in their later years, after the show was over, the band stayed together for a while, and they were more of the. They had some anti-war songs. But everybody did, I don't know if if the FBI had a file on all the bands that sang any kind of anti-war songs, but what what did they? I'm a believer. What was that? Did they believe that Lyndon Johnson stole the election in 1964?
Oh, how about the last train to Clarksville? I mean,
Yeah.
That is an anti-war song. And
Yes.
you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
that is right, Paul. Yeah.
Does
Sure.
that qualify to have an FBI file on you? Now, the one I thought was a little bit of me, a little bit of you. I always thought that was about a cannibalistic couple, and maybe that's why they had it. So, anyways, I'm going to move on from that. And
Wow.
I have a picture. Oh, I do have another picture coming up. I'm going to leave this up there for a second. Now, here's another reason to watch us on YouTube. You may not know this, but John and I are fashion icons. Did you know that, John?
No, it's news to me. That's a news flash.
I wonder if Annette and Donnabelle know that. Is
Well,
true.
they dress us. So
I don't think Annette knows that. I don't think Annette would be on board with that thought at all,
I'll
Terry.
tell you what. Yeah, I'd be lost without my wife picking out my clothes.
Oh, sure.
anyway,
Sure.
so this comes to us from Heinz, the ketchup people. Heinz has debuted a new clothing line just for people like me and John. The clothing line, in fact, I'll bring the picture up here. The clothing line has ketchup stains already on the clothing. So if you're a hamburger lover or a hot dog lover or a French fry lover, anything you put ketchup on, it's going to eventually end up on your shirt. Well, now you are in style because Heinz has come out with a fashion line with ketchup stains already on. And there's a picture of a lady, not even a guy, not even a after middle-aged guy like us with ketchup on her shirt. Where was I going to go?
I don't think I'd have the nerve to wear that. Although my shirts do appear like that from time to time.
Hey, you're never alone, John.
Oh my
So
gosh.
they call this the vintage drip collection, and it's not referring to people like John and I who wear stuff like that, but it features. I was waiting for it, but everybody to catch up on that one. The features thrift show clothing. So they purchase thrift show clothing and thrift shop, and they clean it except for the ketchup stains, and then all the proceeds go to charity. So yeah, so I was looking since I've been in this position before. the best thing, and Karen, you may know this, what is the best thing for getting getting ketchup stains out of clothing?
Vinegar.
Wrong. Good guess though. John, do you know?
I was going to just have a feeble guess of like cold water.
But that is pretty feeble, John. You're right. You didn't even get the
You know, I'm trying to speak plain truth here. You know, I'm speaking the plain
No.
truth.
That's okay, John. That's okay. You're both wrong. The best way to get ketchup stains, best method to get ketchup stains out of clothing is scissors. Sorry
Oh,
about that. So
what does
I've done this
Bigfoot say
myself.
about that? Does
Yeah,
Bigfoot
but speaking of feeble, yeah. So, you know, there was a time when I used to get a lot of food stains on my clothing. I started Scotch guarding all of my clothes. I mean, I Scotch guarded from head to toe. And believe it or not, that works. Except you go to the restaurant, and you sit down in your chair, and you immediately slide right down to the floor. So
That's right.
Kids don't
The
try this at
downside.
home.
That's the downside of that
The
process.
downside. That's John tried it too.
Oh yeah.
Speaking speaking of clothing, this comes from Germany. I'm going to take this lady down here for a second. There we go. So Max Planck Institute of Chemistry. I like to follow these schools. I don't think they have a football team, John. But the Max Planck Institute does have a chemistry department, and they claim they discovered that humans have an invisible aura that actually we emit, and it cleans the molecules in the air around us that could be cleaning the air that we breathe, or also the air that we emit. So I never knew this. So if it's cleaning the air around me, I don't need to use Febreze anymore because it's, my clothing will be cleaned by my aura. It's the way I understand this. I don't know. Karen doesn't get it. Karen's not buying it.
Are we in mysterious universe right now?
Yeah, you're right.
I have to confess also, Paul, I didn't know anything that we had this kind of aura per se.
We're Bigfoot. We're Bigfoot. And we'll talk about that later, Bigfoot's aura. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. It's something in our skin, and it mixes with the ozone when you go out in the sun. And they
All right.
allegedly that it creates an aura that cleanses the air around you, which would cleanse your clothing. I'm not going to wait for that to happen.
Good thinking.
I'm gonna wash my clothes or beg my wife to do it. So okay, speaking of begging, we've got a dog story here. And this is one of my favorite stories. This was on Facebook. By the way, I do post some of these stories on Facebook, so you can always follow me and see some of these stories as well. So I'm gonna put this picture up here. Dolly Parton, everybody knows who Dolly Parton is. So it's not like she needs any money. Or that she had nothing to do, but apparently she thinks she does. So she's come out with a clothing line, not for people like John or myself, but for dogs. And I've got a picture of one of her. That's not her. Here we go. Here. Okay, there we go. So Dolly Parton has invented this line. It's called the Doggy Parton clothing line for dogs. And I've got a picture of a poor dog here whose owner belongs to purchased. Maybe it's Dolly's dog. I don't know. They didn't say. But not only did she have shirts, dresses, little cowboy hats, and other clothing accessories and toys for dogs. She also has blonde wigs. And this poor little dog, I'm not sure what breed it is, but there's a picture of this dog with a blonde wig. I've owned a number of dogs in my life. I would never subject a dog, male or female, to something like that. But apparently,
that's really a different look. Not to be funny.
Yeah.
Wait, if you think that one's bad, here's one of her cowboy hats. Oh, I don't. There was no dog underneath this particular cowboy hat, but I liked her explanation here. She says, featuring pet-friendly elastic chin strap to secure the hat. Oh, dogs love that. They love having something underneath.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Besides the flea collar and the other collar,
Uh-huh.
the tag. Comfortable and easy to slip on and off pet. let me tell you, being a dog owner, they don't need your help. If the dog doesn't like it, it's gone before you can blink. And then, just to impress your dog, 100% polyester. So, and then it says at the bottom, spot clean. Now, I don't know if that means that spot has to be clean before you put the hat on your dog, if his name is Spot, or if you have to clean it if Spot gets a spot on it. I don't understand this. So I mean,
Something to think about.
that's right. That's right. And you know, if Dolly Parton is doing this to make her dog like her, she has no reason to do that. Dogs love Dolly Parton because on hot days, there's always a shady place for them to lie down under. A shady place. Dolly Parton, you know, she has the big chest. I'm helping everybody along here because I can hear a puzzled look coming over the airwaves. So, but dogs hate getting dressed up because it makes them look like us. It makes them look human. What dog wants to look human? They have the ideal life. They can walk around being naked. They can pee wherever they want. They eat off the floor. There's no 5-second rule for dogs. They'll eat a week later. They'll eat stuff off the floor.
It's a dog's world. It's a dog's world.
Dog world, John.
Yeah.
Think about this. You know, people are actually afraid of dogs. You know, very few people are afraid of me, but dogs. You know, even a little dog like the one that Dolly Parton had, people are afraid of them. So I don't know. I'm not buying this. I don't really like that one.
Let's put it this way. It's unique.
It's unique. Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. John always has a nice twist to it. So let's see if you got a nice twist to this one, John, because it's the next story coming up is about a guy named Hammerhand. Now, this is not Hank Aaron, who was the hammer. Isn't that what Hank Aaron was
He was
called?
the hammer, yes.
Hank the Hammer, yeah.
Or hammering Hank. Hammering Hank.
Hank. I'm sorry, Hammering Hank. Well, this guy's name is Hammerin Mohammed from Milan, Italy. He's a German martial artist with a name like Muhammad, competing in Milan. What an international story we have here. So his nickname is Hammerhand. I'm going to show you why he's called Hammerhand. I'm sorry. Here's this poor dog. Look at this dog here. This poor dog. Dolly Parton put her bra on him around his neck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, isn't that? It looked like her bra. I'm not sure. One of those things that keeps the dogs from scratching themselves. I know I need one of those. So, anyways, here's Hammerhand's Mohammed Karamanovic, and he is hammering baseball bat. Hammering Hands set a new world record, Guinness World Record, for breaking through in 1 minute, John, 68 regulation baseball bat with his hand.
That's amazing. That's an amazing statistic right there.
Yeah, over one a second, just over one a second. Hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. Wow.
There's one of those kids. You know broken bats happen regularly in baseball games, but like maybe 1 or 2 a game.
Right.
Not 68 in a minute.
It's like a production line of him doing that within a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, no kidding. Well, in fact, he breaks. So he's so good at breaking bats. The Guardians hired him to help them get out of their slump. Get rid of all these bats. We're going to get a
sure. Hey, something's got to help those guys.
There you go. Now, John, of course, is a baseball fan. So I was thinking, John, as I looked at him, I was thinking, I wonder, he must have to practice on doing this before he gets into these world record challenges. Do you think maybe he has to practice using a fungo bat?
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Paul, that's a very logical conclusion. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it sounds like it's. I mean, that would be almost a natural, so to speak.
And really? Karen had many connections to baseball teams. Karen, do you know what a fungo bat is?
A fungo bat?
Fungo bat.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if you still use them. John, a fungo bat is a very light bat made out of lighter wood than normal.
Right. And they use it for practice. It's
practice, right.
Or infield practice normally
Yeah, so the poor
yeah.
coaches don't get tired hitting ground balls to the end.
Right, right.
Such a tough job they have, that they need a lighter bat just to hit the ground
Mhm.
ball. I don't feel sorry for them at all.
Well, they're paid handsomely.
They're paid handsomely. It's exactly right, John. Okay, here's another world record for you. This is a female world record. We don't have many women world records, and you'll see why I like this one in a second. So this lady, she's Irish. She's from Ireland. Her name is Ciola McGowan, and she was competing in Canada recently for the title of the World Double Bit Axe Throwing Champion.
Oh,
Double bit means there's an axe on, it's sharp on either side. And here she is, Ciola, getting ready to throw an axe. We talked about axe throwing before. This is the hot sport, apparently. So she's getting ready to throw an axe. She did so well in this competition that she is now the world record holder. And she picked it up, not that long ago, just 1 or 2 years ago. But apparently she's doing so well that she's going to make it part of her repertoire. And the reason why I say that is because she doesn't plan to quit her day job, which she claims helps her in throwing axes. Her day job, she's a pole dancer. And
oh,
believe it or not, and I'm not going to. I know Karen would get upset. I'm not going to put a picture of her pole dancing up there. If she had one pole dancing with an axe, I would. But apparently she didn't take any pictures of it. But I'm thinking, what a perfect opportunity to increase her pay while she's pole dancing, to start pole dancing with a double bit axe. Some guy puts a dollar bill down, she's waxed that in half. Next thing you know, she's getting 5, 10 credit cards, gold watches, you name it.
wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I think that's she's got a clever idea there if she takes it a little further. So the pole dancing axe thrower. That's
Very
hard to say. Not something any of us would try. So okay, John, who's the coach of the University of Connecticut Huskies football team? Now, everybody knows that Connecticut's basketball coaches, because both the male and female are consistent NCAA champions. But how about the football team?
I think he's a person that's from a major college that ended up at Connecticut, but I can't.
Punishment? Was God punishing him for doing something bad?
I mean, like you said, Connecticut's not known for its football prowess, but
No, it's not.
it's basketball prowess, both the men's and their women's team. But I can't recall off the top of my head who he is.
Jim Mora. Jim Mora is.
Oh, right, that's right, former NFL coach. Right.
Oh yeah. So he's fallen way. He's really fallen to the bottom of the barrel at coaching.
Sure.
And you can tell he's not having a good time because he was in the news this week, not for anything footballish, but he's living. Apparently they gave him a house to live in off campus, and it's haunted. So not
haunted. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And not only does he inherit a team that's 4-32 over the past 3 years, 4-32, but he lives in a haunted house. So he's trying to make the best of it. He's threatening the ghosts. He said, I'm going to bring in an exorcist unless you ghosts come with me to the game and go out there invisibly and listen in on the huddles of the opposing team. Because we got to do something to get away from 4-32.
Wow.
Yeah, he must have learned that in the NFL. I bet the NFL does that. They
NFL. There's a lot of superstition that goes on in the NFL. Believe me.
You better believe it. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Sure.
In fact, I was looking for ghosts. John mentioned before the show that he attended the Ohio State Notre Dame game over the weekend, and we used to do segments on sports ghosts. So I went back to some of the old segments to see if there was a ghost. I know there's plenty for Notre Dame, but I wanted to do one on Ohio State. And there is one. Now, there's a tradition that is no longer legally practiced at Ohio State. And that is there's a lake. It's called, what's it called? It has a name. I didn't write it down. There's a name. There's a lake on the campus. And before the Ohio State-Michigan game, students and players would jump into the lake. That was the big tradition. And then there were some problems, so they no longer jump into the lake. But there's a ghost that haunts the lake, and she's called, go figure, Our Lady, the Lady of the Lake. And she's somebody's ex-wife from some professor who met her demise in a bad way. And as a result, she comes back to haunt him in the school by walking across the lake at night. So there's our Ohio State ghost for the week.
Wow.
Okay, well.
The lake is called Mirror Lake.
Mirror Lake, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did one of our fans,
Actually, I walked by there. I walked by Mirror Lake, as a matter of fact.
did you? You didn't jump in, thank
I
you.
did not. No, I wanted to get to my car.
Your car dry, okay. All right, well, as you know, we like to do Bigfoot stories on the show, and especially when there's photos. So I will say right now that I do have at least one photo to go along with 2 Bigfoot stories this week. So I'm going to get right to those because I know John gets all excited. Bigfoot even. Yeah, he's excited too. Okay, so the first one comes from Indiana state, right next door to Ohio. In fact, where Notre Dame is, if I'm not mistaken, John.
Yes, South Bend.
So we got a football connection here. I didn't even realize that as I was setting the story up. So this a couple of people who are apparently college students, and you'll understand why when I say this, were walking in the woods, and they said that they had gotten stoned and they were walking through the woods, and they came across a friend, and they were walking and looking down. And here's what they saw while walking through. Let's see, here's our axe throwing lady. Here's what they saw. They found 2 footprints, 2 giant footprints. Now, there's a human footprint over there, and right next to it is a giant, what looks like a bare, as in naked human footprint. The person said that that is a size 13 foot human foot next to the Bigfoot, which is close to double in size and width, at least, to the human foot. So what they said is that they immediately, somebody had enough sense to pull out a camera and take a picture, because they said they wanted to have a photo so that people didn't think that they were hallucinating. Now, I don't remember growing up in the 60s, Jefferson Airplane ever doing any songs about LSD and seeing a white Bigfoot. But, you know, maybe the LSD is different these days than it was back in the 60s. Anyway.
That's an interesting segue, Paul, right there.
So,
with drug reference there. Well,
yeah. So what do you think, John? Does that look like a real Bigfoot footprint to you?
now clearly it is bigger than a human's foot, or most human feet, plural, right?
Thank you for qualifying that.
Yeah, but here again, those are the only prints. I mean, are there prints like before those that were taken? Are there photos of the prints? I mean, why are just those prints there? Don't they have a whole series of them?
Well, apparently not. It's in a, I don't know, it was near a creek, I know that. So.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. But, well, I mean, clearly something did make those. It appears to me something did make those prints, but again, I have to be skeptical. I'm sorry. I just not convinced.
Well, it says that actually the prints are underwater. Now, I tell that photo right there, but they said it was like a half an inch to an inch of water. So these were in the creek itself.
Okay.
So if there were a Bigfoot, they were walking across the creek when they made these footprints. Now, they didn't say if they were solid or mushy or what.
I just, from a logical point of view, if you had more than two, then it would appear that something was moving and making those prints. Now, again, I'm not just trying to cast a dissenting vote on this or, saying that it can't be.
Oh, no.
But Well, wait, and of course,
Yeah, okay.
you have a bias. You know, my bias has been well documented over the weeks about Bigfoot. But to me, it's not convincing. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Well, that legitimate, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people who agree with you. A lot of the commenters felt the same way. A couple of interesting comments. Uh, one of the one of the commenters said that yeah, the shape. They said that it was only it could have been made by swirling water from the creek, swirling in a way to form a footprint. Uh, and they,
That's that. You know that's plausible. I guess that's possible too, right? We're all in the area of conjecture. I mean, you don't. I mean,
right.
you don't know, right? So I
Well,
don't.
and they said that the footprint was slightly misshapen, as if that's a bad thing. You know, my feet are slightly misshapen, so my footprints are obviously that way. Bigfoot probably has the same problem. Now, if it's double in size, and this guy maybe is 6 feet tall, that means you know, we can extrapolate that this particular Bigfoot could have been 12 feet tall, which is an awfully tall Bigfoot when it comes
Well,
to measuring Bigfoot.
they're noted to be tall, aren't they? People that supposedly see them or photograph them
Well,
or
that's
hear
right.
them.
And if it is 12 feet tall, this area will soon be flooded with Indiana high school basketball coaches looking for this Bigfoot to play the basketball.
Yeah,
game,
right. That would give them an advantage, right?
That's
Sure.
what they're going to say. That's the first thing they're going to call him, the Hoosier Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
And
No, that's a good
the
point.
answer to that musical question, you Hoosier Bigfoot, is Daryl, uh, who was the Bigfoot in the insurance commercials. For those of you who don't remember the insurance commercials.
I do remember those commercials. Yes, I do. Very good. No, and they were recent. They were not long. They were
Oh,
recent.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Relatively recent. Right. Sure.
Okay, so that was in Indiana. Now we've got another one from South Carolina. Beautiful state. John and I have a fraternity brother who lives in South Carolina, who, by the way, is not a regular, but is an occasional listener to the show. So if you're out there, Dan, John and I say hello.
Dan,
And
yeah. Hope you're listening. Hope you're listening.
hope you're looking for Bigfoot, because this story comes from one of the islands in South Carolina. South Carolina has a number of beautiful islands. Hilton Head is one that everybody knows about. A lot of golf courses. So I'm just thinking already, if they see Bigfoot there, uh, could Bigfoot have been on a vacation, on a golf vacation? Which then begs the question, John, what is Bigfoot's handicap? Other than he's too big to ride the cart. I don't know what Bigfoot's handicap
Oh,
might be.
he's everywhere. He's everywhere. The big.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Bigfoot says it is a pain in the butt trying to get into those little carts. Okay, so this comes from this month, last month, just a month ago, August 2nd. This older family, guy, his sister, and his brother were visiting South Carolina's Hunting Island State Park. They've been to this park for over 70 years, they said. So they're in their 70s. They come there every year, so they know this park inside and out. It's an uninhabited area, very beautiful park. Noon, so it's white daylight, and they're driving on a road by a lighthouse, which is on the island. The narrator is driving. His brother's sitting next to him. His sister is sitting in the back. All of a sudden, 15 feet away from the left side of the front of the car, they see a Bigfoot, 5 to 6 foot tall Bigfoot. Now, the guy's name is Dr. Robert Frady, and he is a forensic psychiatrist. Okay, so he's a smart guy. He doesn't get fooled. So at least that's what they want us to believe. So what he did was he didn't take any pictures because it happened too fast, but he immediately went to the park rangers and reported it. And then he reported it to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. And I've talked about them a number of times. They're the people who keep track of all Bigfoot sightings. If you see a Bigfoot, you should report it to them. And their guy has the founder and head has a memorable. His name is Matthew Money. Now, Matthew is, by the way, is from Ohio. I think he's in Wisconsin. I think that's where the headquarters are. So he says, he talked to him. They said that the Bigfoot was walking upright, taking quick strides, ducked into the brush. They have pictures of the road. They have pictures of the brush alongside the road. They just don't have a picture of Bigfoot.
Go
Sorry.
figure.
Figures.
Go figure.
So Dr. Frady said both his brother and his sister, who are both professionals, I don't know if they're also psychiatrists or psychologists, but they also saw Bigfoot. So that's 3 legitimate professionals who swear they saw Bigfoot. To Mr. Moneymaker, who listened to the story, he takes that into account, and he says that this was a Class A Bigfoot sighting, which is the highest ranking he can give to a Bigfoot sighting, Class A. So this is big time. So he said that what they told him, they were 6 feet tall, the legs were 3 feet long, had a jointed knee in the front, not facing backwards like a dog's back leg. It was during the day, and this was interesting that this forensic pathologist said there were no sounds or odors noticed by any of them. Now that tells you that if you want a good Bigfoot witness, a forensically trained person is the perfect witness, even if they didn't have a camera, because he noticed the smell, he noticed the sounds, he noticed the legs, the way the legs bent. This guy knew what he was doing. So I believe him. I don't know if he would convince John, but he certainly convinced Matthew Moneymaker.
Well, there's theories that are out there, obviously, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. And again, I think it's something that just continues to go on. And I'm sure that there will eventually be some type of definitive photo or video or something that everyone can agree upon saying that is a Bigfoot. So
let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah,
It could happen in South Carolina. There's a
and
number
if we're moving in that direction, then I can accept scientific fact. I accept scientific facts.
we all do. That's right. So in South Carolina, there have been a number of Bigfoot sightings. Again, I don't have any other photos. So John,
Okay,
you're right.
all right.
Okay. But one thing interesting, and we talked about this at least once before that I can recall on the show. There's all these islands off the coast of South Carolina. One of them is called Monkey Island, fitting into our theme of monkeys on this show. And Monkey Island is a repository for scientific monkeys that the government has used and no longer needs, where they tested viruses and other kind of chemicals. So they have this deserted island. They put the monkeys on there. There's no humans living there. They have a completely automated system there that feeds them. So somehow someone comes once in a while and fills the food container. And then they have a patrol that goes around to make sure that the tourists are allowed to sail around the island, but they cannot get out of the boat and go on the island. And they will be shot. There's signs all over the place. So they need to scare you. So of course, in South Carolina, there's always sightings of monkeys that somehow swam across this vast expanse of ocean to get to the mainland. And so that's one of the things that they blame this particular sighting. So Dr. Frady, and I love this guy. I agree with Matthew Moneymaker. He's a good witness. So he says that he made his report a month ago to the park, and they still have not responded to him. Moneymaker answered him right away. The park ranger still has not responded as to what they think he saw. And he said, if it had been up to me, I'd have had a half a dozen biologists out there. I'm a scientist, and I would give anything to find out some more data. I know it was there. So there you go, John, a scientist saying he trusts his eyes.
Well, there's some validity to that, obviously. You have to recognize that. Sure.
Yeah. Now, so there's our Bigfoot story here. Now I'm going to leave that Bigfoot up for a second because I have a couple of photos that go along with the next story. And this one comes from Poland, and it has to do with vampires. And Karen, I know, Karen's been around here longer than John. We've done a number of Polish vampire stories over the years. So you may recognize some of the features and characteristics of this particular story. But vampires, the classic vampire comes from the Bram Stoker story, Dracula. The vampire that many of us think of comes from the 1922 silent German film Nosferatu, which is a very scary movie. Was remade in that was the first movie made based on the book. In 1979, it was remade as Nosferatu the Vampire, and people who are into vampires, and I didn't know this, noticed that although it's set in Romania, many of the people in the village were speaking Polish, and they believed that the director and writer of the movie knew about Polish vampires and put that little Easter egg in there. So
Interesting.
yeah, so this comes from a cemetery, a 17th century cemetery in Pierre, P-I-E-R, I guess that's how it's pronounced, Pierre, Poland, which is in the southeastern corner of Poland, near the Ukrainian border, since Ukraine is the news. So they're digging, these archaeologists are digging in this graveyard. And what they find, I will put a picture up right here, is this. Now, this is a skeleton with a sickle buried face down, with the blade facing down directly over the neck of the skeleton. So it would have been buried over the neck of the corpse. This is a corpse of a lady who was buried in this cemetery. The reason why they put the sickle over her neck is because they believed that she was a vampire, and vampires rise out of the grave. So the theory back in the 17th century was that if she began to rise, the sickle would cut her head off, and apparently headless vampires don't work. So she'd fall back into the grave, and that would be the end of it. Now, take a look at that. Tell me if there's anything else unusual about that particular skull while I check my notes here.
I don't care. I don't know. What do you, I don't think so.
Well, there's a giant tooth right underneath her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's obvious. That's obvious.
So the so this professor who was digging there, Professor Polinsky is his name, good Polish name, an archaeologist from the Nicholas Copernicus University, famous Polish astronomer. So they're digging in this cemetery, and there's a 17th century cemetery, as I said. The skull of this particular lady also had a silk cap on it, which signified to them that she was wealthy. So this was a wealthy woman who was buried here. People thought she was a vampire. Now, the other thing, she must have been a good, not a good, but a scary vampire, because this is something I've never heard before. And we'll talk about some of the other ways they tried to stop vampires. But in addition to the sickle across her throat, she had a padlock on her big toe.
Oh my.
What?
Hold that thought. I tried to find a photo. They didn't have a photo of the padlock. They were all too far away if you could see it. So, so what they think, most of these were 17th century cholera. There was a cholera epidemic, and many of these people died of cholera, and they didn't understand it. So they were afraid that the dead were coming back and giving other people cholera. That's one of the explanations. But they had a number of ways that they would stop them. They put rocks under their chins, and that was supposed to weigh them down in the grave. They put they cut their heads off. They broke their legs. There was all kind of things.
Oh boy, pretty gruesome.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. Yeah, really. But they were afraid. They were afraid of getting this disease that they didn't understand. So the one thing that they did, they buried them face down. That was another one. So if they tried to rise, they would actually go into the ground. And one of my favorite methods, this was a great one. They would bury the people suspected of being vampires with a bag of poppy seeds. Now, not to eat, but they said that it would drive the vampire crazy because they would be counting the poppy seeds, and they'd be distracted counting poppy seeds to rise from the dead.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my. Wow.
I like that.
Oh.
I really like that one. So, but she had a padlock on her toe, that was supposed to be, this is one of the theories, that would lock her in to keep her from rising up and creating other vampires. So they checked this theory out. And Karen, with your background, I don't know if you've ever heard of something like this, but this was a Christian cemetery that, according to the sources I had, they said that there's a Jewish custom that you bury a padlock in a casket with the deceased that is a symbol that they and their possessions are protected in the afterlife. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Never heard of it.
No, okay. All right. I just wanted to check on that. So Poland is a hotbed for vampires. Poland was a big center of the Slavic universe for a long time in its various forms. And many of the customs from vampirism that ended up in Romania actually came from Poland. So a lot of that stuff like that. But I mentioned the tooth. That was the other thing. Physical deformities always scared people, and they thought, "Oh God, this is, there's something wrong with this person. They must be something evil because they had bad teeth." And that's the one that they thought of because of her bad tooth. There were other instances in Poland of people who were believed to be vampires because they had bad teeth. And I don't know if that was the origin of the vampire biting people in the neck and having the pointed teeth.
Oh,
This particular tooth here is right in the middle of her mouth. So she could open a can of beer maybe.
probably. It's pretty big, really.
Or maybe knock the cap off of a bottle, but I'm not sure she could bite any.
Wow.
But yeah, people with physical and mental disabilities were considered to be evil vampires. So anyways, I thought that was I don't think I have another picture of.
Kind of a
I
different
just
story.
want you to know there was a whole study done on the padlocks in the Jewish graves in Eastern Europe.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And what did they conclude?
I haven't read it. I think it's like about 700 pages here. So,
Okay, we'll be expecting a report from you next week on that.
oh, sure. You got it. Yep.
Well, in your spare time, Karen, just kind of
Yeah.
buzz through that.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. So there you go. So there's our Poland vampire story for the week. I love vampire stories, especially because there's so much medical and physical and historical information behind them that explains how the customs that people develop to believe in vampirism and then the customs to prevent it from happening. So I'm always fascinated by that. But I'm also fascinated by sports, and that leads us to our next segment, What in the World of Sports with John DiNallo. And I want to take that vampire down for a second there while I get John's photos ready. So every week I ask John to come up with a weird sport that's fitting of the title, What in the World of Sports? And John consistently comes up with one of those sports. Sometimes there's sports that we can compete in. Sometimes we just wish that we could be commissioners of the league.
That's very true, Paul. That's
Owners
very
of the
true.
Cleveland team.
No,
And that
no,
might
it's
be-
very
That
true.
might be one of the explanations for this one. So John, I'm going to get your photos ready while you tell us what our sport is this week.
Oh, sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. So our sport this week, and I'm not certain if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not, it is Hedis. It is spelled Headis.
I think it would make more sense if it was Hedis, like lettuce.
Hedis, yeah, okay, right, okay.
Let's go with Hedis.
I'm going with that one. So Hedis is a combination of ping pong and soccer. Now you heard this correctly, ping pong and soccer, and it's played on a ping pong table. So this again is clearly a weird and very strange sport. Let me give you some of the details. We'll do a deep dive
On a ping pong table.
on a ping pong table.
But it's soccer and ping pong. Okay.
That's right. Now, the players are only permitted to touch the ball and play with only their head as they bounce it back and forth across a regulation ping pong table. Now, there is a wrinkle, however. while playing Hedis, climbing on the table.
Lettuce.
Hedis like lettuce.
Yeah.
Climbing on the table or flipping over it is fair game. The first player that reaches 11 points is declared the winner, and each game consists of 2 separate sets. So,
So they hit the ball back and forth with their heads
right.
on a ping pong table.
Sure.
You're allowed to climb up on the ping pong table.
Sure. Now, the videos have appeared on German television and in shows at Las Vegas. In fact, the sport is played by 80,000 people on each of the 7 continents of the world, including Antarctica. Now, the sport was invented by Rene.
I'm not hitting a frozen ball in Antarctica. Okay.
I don't know that. I'm just going on what I've been able to research. So anyway, the sport was invented by Rene Wegner, who holds a PhD in sports science and has an ongoing goal to create and establish a brand new, massively popular sport.
Status is it.
Yes, there it is. There's a player right there. So anyway, so Wegner has declined different opportunities to join the International Table Tennis Federation instead of shaping that vision alone. He wants to make this sport his, and he wants to make it so popular that he becomes famous by it. Now, the actual game begins with, right. Okay. No, the actual game begins with a unique type of ball. Wegner found out that soccer balls are not bouncy enough, and a kickball did not have quite the presence of a serious enough ball that is used in competitive sports. So he then convinced an equipment company to workshop it with him, to work this together, and then create a unique 3.5 ounce ball. And that ball, if you look closely, has a flying curve.
Yes, so it helps it fly over the page.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now there are 15 major tournaments each year leading up to the World Championship. The best Hedis players are those that are able to produce the most powerful headers, and that comes from these players having extremely strong legs and strong torso.
Wow.
So that's the fundamental motion of the soccer header. So it is no surprise that the best player in the sport is a soccer player himself.
Wow. Now, yeah. I think we may have lost the line in here. Because I want to explain. I have a picture up here of one of the players. I think that might be Wegner himself on top of the table, about to hit the ball with his head over the net. And if I'm not mistaken, you can't stay on the table. You have to get down.
Well, yes, because flipping and moving is encouraged.
Yeah,
that's right. You're not stationary at all.
So you can't just lay on the table the whole game. And that would be my strategy.
Probably mine too. It would be a lot easier. So most Hedis, am I pronouncing that correctly now? Hedis. Most Hedis players are those that are again able to produce those headers, and they also have many nicknames like Hetty Potter. Had to say that. Okay. And also Cornelius Dahl, who is also known as Hedens, I can't pronounce this correctly, Hedens Furcht. And he is recognized as the Michael Jordan of Hedis.
Michael, he's big time.
Sure. Now, so the sport made the big time in 2014 when the sport did appear on primetime TV for the very first time. And as of the latest rankings, the top male Hedis player is Cornelius Dahl, like we said. And the top female is Margarita Clausi Marmol Fernandez.
That might be her here.
That might be her there. I couldn't tell you if it is or isn't.
Female playing. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people playing here.
Right.
three tables in this gym, and they all have Hedis players on it.
Now,
On them, I mean on them.
yeah. However, the best nicknames go to Lord Voldahead and Red Hot Chili Peppers Missing Pepper. I mean, nicknames go a long way in all areas, and
Right.
it does that way. Now, I don't know if we could compete in this sport, Paul and Karen. I mean, I think, well, there's two people in action right now, but if you don't have the endurance for soccer or the hand-eye coordination for ping pong, use your head and try Hedis. Now, you may never be the Michael Jordan of the sport, but you could be the Charles Barkhead.
Oh.
Just trying to get along, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, you are.
Trying to get along.
I'll tell you, we got a number of pictures of Hedis up here, and more often than not, one of the players is on the table, actually, knees and arms and legs and everything else on the table, waiting for a ball so that they can head it across to the other side. I don't know which.
Well, you can see the player in the blue has 10 points already, so he's close to winning this match in particular, right? He's winning 10-4 according to the referee at stand.
Yeah, this looks like a Hedis tournament here.
Right.
Yeah. And the tables, I played on plenty of ping pong tables in my time that I would never get on top of.
Right.
Well, you have to have that kind of ability, right? You have to have that kind of agility.
And you also have to have a pretty sturdy table.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Right.
But yeah. This is actually a pretty athletic sport. Once you look at it and get over the idea of hitting a ball back and forth with your head on a ping pong table, it does seem to be a pretty athletic sport. Not necessarily one that John and I could participate in.
No, I'm leaving this one alone, Paul.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
I'm leaving this one alone.
and as I always look to see, because there's John and I go back a long way, and our memories sometimes deceive us, and we sometimes forget that we participated in sports very similar to these. However, I could not find a single photo of John or I playing Hedis, but I wanted to ask someone who is an expert about whether we would be able to participate in it. So I actually contacted, what was her name again? The Red Hot Chili Headers Missing Pepper. I actually contacted her, and I said, I explained to her, I sent her pictures of us, and I said, what would happen if John, for example, played Hedis? And she sent me back a photo of what she thought would happen if John played Hedis, and here it is right here.
Good one.
So this is a picture of a lady who's supposed to be Pepper with a ball instead of her head, and that's pretty much what would happen to John or myself if we played this game.
A picture is worth 1,000 words, ladies.
Yes.
Right. John's going to print that up and hang it on his wall to remind himself never to play this game.
That would be a good incentive.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, John, for the sport of Hedis.
Hedis.
Another strange sport indeed. So we're going to go to our last sport, which is not strange at all. It's a lot of fun. It's called Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. The way it's played, I have 3 stories that are similar to the ones that we've been talking about all afternoon. One difference, those stories were real. These may be real, they may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home to determine which one it is. So without further ado, we want to get right to the stories. Hands on the buzzer. Let's get to story number 1. Everyone has heard of the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain, but many other cities hold them as well. And 2022 has been a good year for the bulls, but a bad one for humans. That's why the mayor of Valencia, Spain, has banned all bull runs and switched the annual festival to the running of the bull terriers. The goal is to make the run safe for humans and also to help the reputation of bull terriers, who get a bad rap from people who breed mean pit bulls. The bull terriers come from local animal shelters and are much smaller than the bulls and much nicer. guys who trip and fall during the run say they much prefer to get licked rather than gored. In fact, after the run, most of the bull terriers were adopted by the runners themselves. The only ones sad are the bulls. They now have to go back to bullfighting. All right, so the mayor of Valencia, Spain, who gave up on the running of the bulls because it's too dangerous, and now he runs bull terriers for a good cause. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
I think that's a bluff. Who's going to give up the running of the bulls?
Okay, that's a good line. That's a good logical.
That's a good logical
statement
point
right
here,
there.
Karen.
So
Yes.
Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Karen. I don't think that that's a real story. I just don't. It's hard for me to be convinced of that.
Okay,
Not
John
Bigfoot
goes with his
anything
gut.
like that. Yeah, no,
All right, John goes with his gut on this one. Karen has a logical reason. Both of you say that it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations to both of you. That was a bluff.
all right, Karen, way to go.
Thank you.
It's always good to get off and running with the, so to speak, off and running
Yep.
with the first one, right? Okay, good.
All right. Oh, okay. I'm gonna let you keep that thought there, John. And,
All right.
let's see if you can make it two in a row with story number 2. Hands on the buzzer. The NBA has rules against players faking getting shoved, which is known as flopping. And the NFL warns players not to fake injuries in order to stop the clock. Now, Major League Baseball is considering its own rule, a no barf rule, after a number of games had to be stopped recently while a player tossed his cookies on the field. It not only stops the game, but it occasionally makes some of the other players sick. This became a problem after the league office got a tip that some players were chugging water between innings to make themselves barf. Here's the rule change being considered. Barfing players must go directly to the dugout and have their temperatures taken before returning to the field or getting thrown out for fake barfing. If it's the pitcher, the batter will automatically be awarded first base if he's faking. The league is hoping to try this new rule out in some of the minor leagues during the playoffs. Okay, so Major League Baseball is testing a no barfing rule. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
I'm going to say that's a bluff, Paul. I mean, I am a big baseball fan, and I know that from time to time a player can get sick on the field, obviously. But I'm going to say, yeah, well, no, but not to be funny, but to make a sweeping rule change like this and then have the batter being awarded first base if the pitcher does that, I'm going to say it's false. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Oh, okay. Our sports fan John says that the no barf rule is a bluff. How about our sports fan Karen? What do you say?
I'm going to agree with him because I think if it were real, my baseball genius that I live with would have mentioned it at some point. So bluff.
Oh boy, it's hard to compete with somebody who has a ringer there. Okay, so both of you say that that's a bluff as well, right?
Right.
Okay, let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, 2 in a row. That was a bluff.
Okay,
Wow.
good.
Very
Now,
good. We're
Karen,
doing
we
well
can't be doing
today.
any better than we have been doing, so
Yep.
that's encouraging. That's
There
very
you go. Okay, so the no bar, it makes me sick to watch those players barfing. It's happened a couple of times this year. So anyway, let's move on to story number 3. Most cities are having trouble funding infrastructure repairs, but not San Jose, California. The city needs new sewers, but has no money for them. So when the mayor heard that tech billionaires from nearby Silicon Valley are spending millions of dollars to build bunkers to hide in case of an apocalypse, he got an idea. The San Jose sewers are now being sold to these terrified tech billionaires as ready-made bunkers. It's cheaper to clean them up than to get new ones dug. There are no building permits to get, and the sewers are already hooked up to the sewers. With the money from the sales, San Jose has already built a state-of-the-art sewer system in its downtown area. Everybody wins now that the billionaires can finally honestly say that being rich stinks. Okay, so the city of San Jose paid for a new sewer system by selling the old ones to tech billionaires to turn into bunkers for their safety in case of an apocalypse. Karen, real or bluff?
Okay, I have to go with bluff on this because, that smells.
Or the
It's a bluff.
Karen says it's a bluff. Okay. Hey, John, how about you?
Until Karen brought up that point about it being really stinking, okay, which is very funny, by the way. I was thinking that it would be true, but with Karen's point about that, I mean, that stench would be horrible. I don't think that people that can afford something like the best that money can buy would settle for something like this. I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Oh, okay. Well, John says it's a bluff. Even if what if it was just a tech millionaire who didn't have?
Tech billionaire is going to be able to choose what he wants, right? Or he or she can.
What if it was a retired headhunter? Would
No, I don't think I'm nearly in the same category. Nearly.
Okay, all right. So John, the retired headhunter, says it's a bluff. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the bludgeon. The bludgeons say get a new. Let Bigfoot host the show next week.
Oh my gosh!
The judges say you're both correct. That was a bluff as well.
Hey,
Yay!
3 for 3. You know what?
3 for 3.
Our trajectory right now is really going upward. Just get ready for next week. Get ready for next week.
Okay.
We're coming off of 6 correct answers. That's very
wow.
good.
I don't think that's ever happened. So
no, or if it has, it's been very infrequent. So congratulations.
All right. Well, the great bluff the co-host playing there. I hope everybody who was listening and playing at home had the same success as John and Karen. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul and co-host and producer. Thank you for everything you do for our show and for nuclearradio.net. As always, everybody check out all the great podcasts that Karen has there and along with how to download our show. And as always, I thank my old friend John DiNallo for What in the World of Sports. Thanks again, John. And don't get your hopes up because I look at this as a challenge as well. So
yeah, well, we always have fun with this, with the show.
Definitely. And with your sport.
Well, no, and I think next week, look at it this way. Annette and I do not have to study, so that's good. We're just going to go into it next week.
Oh, boy. That's good.
You're getting too comfortable.
Well, yeah, great. Yeah, I'll be knock us down a peg here, Karen. No, I think we're going to be good next week, too.
All right, Karen. Okay, we'll see. All right. Well, on that note, let's see. The holiday is over, so kids are back to school. For those of you parents out there, enjoy the peace and quiet. And we will see you next week with another episode of What in the World.